A mysterious king, a magical sword, a legendary castle, and knights who gathered around a table where no one sat above another. But was King Arthur a real ruler, or simply one of history's greatest legends?
Long before the castles of medieval England became symbols of knights and kings, there was a story about a young man who would become one of the most famous rulers in legend. The story of King Arthur begins in a land filled with uncertainty. Britain was divided. Powerful leaders fought for control, and rival kingdoms struggled to survive. According to medieval legends, Arthur was born during this troubled time. His father was Uther Pendragon, a powerful king surrounded by enemies. But Arthur's childhood was far from the life of a prince. To protect him from the dangers of the royal court, the young Arthur was raised away from his true identity. He grew up without knowing that he was destined to become king. Instead of learning the ways of a royal court, Arthur was raised under the guidance of a nobleman and trained as a young squire. He learned to ride horses, he learned the skills of a warrior, and most importantly, he learned courage, loyalty, and humility. But somewhere beyond his quiet life, Britain was waiting for a leader. When Uther Pendragon died, the kingdom fell into uncertainty. Who would become the next king? No one knew. Then, according to the legend, a mysterious sword appeared. It was embedded in a stone, and beside it was a message declaring that whoever could pull the sword from the stone would become the rightful king of Britain. Many powerful knights tried, one after another.
They failed. Then came Arthur. He was still young and had no idea what was about to happen. He reached toward the sword, placed his hand around its hilt, and pulled. The sword came free. In that single moment, the unknown young man became the legendary King Arthur. But becoming king would be only the beginning. Britain was still divided, enemies were approaching, and Arthur would soon need more than a sword. He would need a kingdom.
Arthur had pulled the sword from the stone, but becoming king was not as simple as holding a sword. Britain was divided among rival rulers, and many powerful men refused to accept a young and unknown king. Arthur needed someone who could guide him. According to the legend, that person was Merlin. Merlin was a mysterious wizard and advisor who had been watching Arthur's story from the beginning. He understood that Arthur's greatest strength would not come from his sword. It would come from the kind of king he chose to become. Merlin taught Arthur that a ruler needed wisdom as much as courage. Meanwhile, Arthur began gathering loyal warriors around him. He traveled through the kingdom, facing challenges and proving himself as a leader. Some legends tell of battles against rival kings and invading forces. With every victory, Arthur's reputation grew. But there was still a problem. Britain needed unity. Its powerful nobles were constantly fighting among themselves. Arthur dreamed of creating a kingdom where loyalty and justice mattered more than personal ambition. And according to the legends, that dream would eventually lead to Camelot. But before Camelot could become the legendary home of Arthur and his knights, Arthur needed a kingdom strong enough to defend itself. Then came another extraordinary moment. Arthur received a magnificent sword known as Excalibur. Different versions of the legend tell different stories about how Arthur received it. In one famous tradition, the sword was given to him by the Lady of the Lake. Its blade was said to be extraordinary, and its magical qualities became part of Arthur's legend. But the sword alone could not make Arthur a great king. He would need loyal companions. He would need brave knights. And he would need a place where they could gather as equals. Soon, the legendary Knights of the Round Table would enter the story. and Arthur's kingdom would become the most famous kingdom in medieval legend. Arthur had become king, but a kingdom could not be protected by one man alone. He needed people he could trust. According to the legends, Arthur's greatest achievement was not winning a battle. It was creating a fellowship of knights who would become famous throughout the medieval world. Their home was Camelot. In the stories, Camelot was a magnificent royal city filled with stone walls, great halls, markets, and towers. At the heart of Arthur's court stood something unusual: a round table. Unlike a long royal table, the round table had no head. No knight sat above the others. It represented an important idea: all the knights were equals. Among them were some of the greatest names in Arthurian legend. There was Sir Lancelot, famous for his courage and skill; Sir Gawain, known for his loyalty and bravery; and many other knights who traveled across Britain searching for adventure and defending the innocent. Arthur wanted his knights to follow a code of honor. They were expected to show courage, protect those who needed help, keep their promises, and remain loyal to their king. The stories of these knights soon became legendary. They fought dangerous enemies. They rescued travelers. They faced mysterious challenges. And sometimes they encountered things that seemed impossible. But Camelot was more than a place of adventure. It represented Arthur's dream of a united and just kingdom.
A kingdom where courage mattered more than wealth, and honor mattered more than power. For a time, Arthur's dream seemed to be coming true. Camelot flourished. The Knights of the Round Table became famous, and Arthur appeared to be the perfect king. But even the greatest kingdoms have secrets. And hidden beneath the glory of Camelot, trouble was beginning to grow. One of Arthur's closest knights would become connected to the queen, and their forbidden relationship would eventually threaten the entire kingdom. Camelot had become a symbol of Arthur's golden age, but behind the walls of the magnificent castle, the future was beginning to change. Arthur's trusted advisor, Merlin, remained an important figure in the legends. He had guided Arthur from the beginning, but Merlin's story was also filled with mystery. According to some medieval tales, Merlin eventually fell deeply under the influence of a powerful enchantress known as Vivian, sometimes called the Lady of the Lake. Different versions tell the story differently, but in many legends, Merlin's fate became connected to magic, mystery, and his own inability to escape the future he had helped create. Meanwhile, Camelot faced another challenge. Arthur's queen, Guinevere, and his greatest knight, Lancelot, became the center of one of the most famous stories in Arthurian legend. Their relationship created tension within the kingdom. For a while, the truth remained hidden, but secrets rarely remain hidden forever. And then came another great quest, the search for the Holy Grail. According to legend, the Grail was a sacred object connected with the story of Jesus. Arthur's knights set out across Britain in search of it. But this was not simply a journey for treasure. The Grail represented purity, faith, and spiritual perfection. Many knights attempted the quest, yet only the most worthy were believed capable of reaching it.
Among them was Sir Galahad, who was portrayed in later legends as an exceptionally pure and noble knight. The quest changed the Knights of the Round Table. Some returned wiser, some failed, and some never returned at all. The great fellowship that Arthur had built was beginning to change. Then, the secrets surrounding Guinevere and Lancelot finally came to light. Arthur was forced to confront a painful choice. He was not only a husband, he was a king. and the betrayal threatened the very foundation of Camelot. The Round Table began to fracture. Friends became enemies, and Arthur's greatest kingdom was moving toward its darkest chapter. Camelot was no longer the peaceful kingdom it had once been. The Knights of the Round Table had become divided. Arthur's greatest friendship had been broken, and now a new threat was rising. According to the legend, Arthur's own nephew, or in some versions, his son, Mordred, challenged his authority. Mordred wanted the throne. Arthur had no choice but to return to Britain and confront him. The final battle came at a place known in the legends as Camlann. Two armies faced each other. On one side stood Arthur and the forces loyal to him. On the other stood Mordred. It was the final struggle for the future of Camelot. The battle was fierce, and by the end, almost everything Arthur had built was gone. Mordred was defeated, but Arthur himself was mortally wounded. The legendary king was now facing his final moments. According to the most famous versions of the story, Arthur was taken to the mysterious island of Avalon. Before leaving, Arthur gave his legendary sword, Excalibur, to be returned to the Lady of the Lake. The sword disappeared beneath